In this episode of the On.NET Show, we're going to learn how to do logging, how to configure JSON logging, and some of the new features that the team has added in the latest version of the logging extensions. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the On.NET Show. My name is Cecil Phillip, and today we're going to learn a little bit about the console log formatter. And I have my friend Maryam here who's going to tell us all about it. So, Maryam, before we start, why don't you tell folks about who you are and what exactly you do?
Thanks, Cecil. So I work on the .NET team, and lately I've been mostly focusing on Microsoft extensions libraries, and we have a bunch of new features that are what we've mostly added into logging that I think it would be nice to share today.
All right, sure. So I know, a lot of work has been going into the login extensions and, support for semantic logging and tons of other stuff has gone in there. And with the new console log formatter, you guys have added even more features. So I'm kind of curious about well, one, why did you think there were more features that needed to be added? And then two, could you tell us a little bit about what some of those features are?
So basically, when we got to the .NET 5 timeframe, we were looking at what were the most requested features, especially what we found in logging is that a lot of developers wanted to have their console logs formatted in ways that are not specifically defined in our library. They wanted to have their own custom formats, indentation-wise, or like prefixing each log message in their own way. Also, there was a lot of interest in log messages showing up in a JSON format. Because of all of this, and because of it was very popular in terms of a request, what we ended up doing is that we not only kept support for like the existing built-in ones that we had, which is like a multi-line human readable log message that most are familiar with. Aside from that, if someone wants to use a built-in JSON console formatter, they can use that with like calling a single API when they configure logging. And on top of that, in case anyone wants their own specific type of formatting, they're not tied to what's built in. They can develop their own as well.
Awesome. And I'm guessing there's like docs and all these types of things that you could show us that'll, let us know how to configure some of these things.
Yeah, definitely. I can actually now, we can take a look at the docs page if you want. So this one has got a lot of good detail on console log formatting. Actually, when I was looking at it today, I was scrolling through the whole thing. It seemed like it covers almost all of the features that someone might want to, if they want to refresh themselves from, let's say, what's happened from 5.0 onwards. Just for the console log formatting, they will pretty much pick up everything they need to know.
Awesome. So I know we're going to talk about some of these features here, but if folks want to get a little bit more of an in-depth view about some of those enhancements that your team has added, they can come over here. We'll make sure we add that link inside of the description for the video.
Yeah, that'll be good. So, and on top of this, I think it would be, what I also prepared is a demo for exactly how this console log formatting would work. And the code, in terms of code and implementation, I'm sure if anyone follows the docs page, they will be getting to the same kind of code and implementation. So it's I don't think there would be any issues with that.
Awesome. Well, we love demos, so let's do it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. The way I prepared the demo is that I kind of, every diff I have, I prepared it in a commit. So you might see, you might see, yeah, that way. So basically, I have two different demos here, one for a console app and one for the Blazor server, which is pretty popular for us now. And the first thing I want to show is the console log formatting, let's say in a console application. So I'll move into the console project first. And over there, I have, I also want, the first thing I wanted to show is like the first, like if someone just typed in .NET new console, the kind of template code that they would get, I'm just going to check out that commit, and you'll see that if I run my console app, this is you'll see a pretty familiar, obviously, output, which is hello world. And now I'll go to the second one, and I'll show exactly what the diff would look like as well.
So then that code that you just ran just now, I'm guessing all you did was like you newed up a logger, right? Like using the logger factory, and then you just said console or logger.info.
That's a good question. So I was what I hope the diff here would be like a good illustration here is I used the template for console, which happened to have just console write line, and it was just showing hello world if we scroll up. So nothing in terms of logging yet. Then what I end up doing on my newer commit is I add reference to the package, but I think I don't really need hosting or options. It's basically just logging console in terms of adding the package that we need. And also the code I ended up writing is as you just mentioned, is I use a logger. I have a logger factory, and this is the new API I have that's new in 5.0 at SimpleConsole. And with that, I have a bunch of options that I can set up for the console. I can say if I want it to be in single line, or how the time format or anything would work. And imagining if these would be the bunch of log messages that I'm going to write down, what I'll end up seeing in when I run the application would look pretty familiar to most people having used any version before 5.0. And what's new is basically, let's see, this API at SimpleConsole. I could also, another, which is a built-in log formatter. Another built-in log formatter is systemd-console, but that one always has been single line. So it doesn't have that property. It has its own sets of properties. And if I run this again, you'll see it's going to be like in a different format. Like these are like systemd specific. This is the representation for info rather than info here. And so none of these two are new. It's just the way you use them have been changed in 5.0. And another, like the more interesting parts are that someone, if they wanted to, they can have their completely customized way of writing this main log message with different prefixes, indentations, and all. So I'll now show that one. I'm just going to check out the commits I had again. So we looked at these two. Now I'm going to check out the latter.
Sure. And so now, while you're going ahead and checking out that that commit that you want to show us, so just to kind of clarify what we've done so far. So you showed us like a console.writeLine, just a regular writing to the console type message. Yes. But then also you showed us two packages you added, right? Like there was logging abstractions, and then there was logging console, I believe.
Yes.
And inside of that, I know in the past I've done, when I created the logger factory, I've done add console, but then now you have add SimpleConsole, and then there's also systemd-console. But now when I think about like systemd or some of these other things, like systemd is like a Linux thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But what you're actually doing is you're not necessarily saying, okay, well, this only logs to Linux systems. You're really just changing the format, like what it actually looks like when it gets output to the terminal, right?
Yes, exactly. And like the naming, like at SimpleConsole and at systemd-console is basically kind of like, for those who were familiar with previous version, previous to 5.0, we had, I'll show it in the docs page as well. We used to use console log format, and console log format, I believe, was deprecated, but there was this console log options that happened to have like format of either default or systemd. So like the namings are coming from there. Got it. So I yeah, so exactly, found it right here. Console log format is in the same page right here. So previously, to reiterate, as you said, add systemd console and add SimpleConsole. Basically, the namings come from the previous versions where when we wanted to set them up, we used console log format enum, either default or systemd. And as you said, doesn't necessarily have to do anything with Linux. And now, rather than using at systemd API or at SimpleConsole, we're not tied to that. We can also have we can implement our own console formatters, and each of them could have their own, as you see, they could have their own properties as well. And like custom prefix if I wanted to have, or anything. And even like it's possible to control the behavior of the color you get in your formats. So little sneak peek into the diff is right here, and I have to add like an implement. You'll see it's not that much. It's just implementing two things, something that implementing a console formatter and a console options that tells you which properties you want your formatter to have. So let's run this.
Okay, and so now what you're showing us here in like that little diff that we had was pretty much just saying, hey, if you don't like any of these formatters that we have in the box, or you have a, whatever your business reason is, you want to have a customized formatter or formatting of how your logs are getting output, then you could do that, right? And so you can do the add custom formatter, and then you could specify the different tokens you want to put in, like the timestamp, the message, the exception messages, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And it also, like you were showing us just now, like there's an option there where you can set up different color schemes, which is, I know people love colors when you take a look at logs, because it just makes it a little bit easier to kind of consume when you read through them.
Yeah, exactly. So like bringing it up again, for my specific custom formatter, because I cared about color or like custom prefix, I used a bunch of dashes. For a log message like so, which in itself it's embedding VT100 it's embedded VT100 codes. What you saw is that this portion looks up in green, and the rest, like the dash, is the way I, as a developer, implemented the console log formatter, such that anything that is set up as the custom prefix right here will be green or will be anything else, right? Okay. And a very tiny detail I wanted to also show is this logger color behavior is also new in 5.0. And if someone wanted to, they can also disable the color. And if I run this again, the same thing, they will get everything in a disabled, like the custom prefix will be disabled, because this is the developer implemented portion of my code. Whatever the user of the of this console logger embeds in a log message is not something that the logging extensions library will post-process. We're not gonna kind of touch whatever log message is put in, because they had embedded this with VT100 code. It's going to remain like that. But anything that was implemented as part of the console log formatter by the developer can be disabled with the logger color behavior.
Awesome.
Right here.
And then I believe you also had another demo too. Like, yes, you had a Blazor demo. Could you show us that one really quickly?
Yes. So I'm gonna now move to the other one. Similarly, I have this committed.
I think what's cool about this, from what you're showing us, so we've seen it run in a console application. I'm guessing now we're going to see it run on Blazor server. So when I think about like all the different places that a .NET runs, I'm guessing it can run at you can use this this logging extensions and stuff like that you've added on the web, on the desktop. I'm guessing I could use it inside of my my IoT apps if I needed to, and all these different places that .NET runs. Because I'm going to guess that you're targeting .NET Standard for some of those things, right?
Yes. So the logging extensions targets Net Standard 2.0. Anything that targets Net Standard 2.0, they should be able to use this so long as they use the 5.0 package onwards.
Cool.
And yeah, so let's. I wanted to also show you the Blazor server. The first commit, I'll just quickly share what the default would look like if someone just wrote down .NET new Blazor server. They would get like whatever I have in my first commit.
Sure.
And let's just check that out and run and see what we get. .NET run.
Now, like you said, you're showing us on Blazor server, right? So this is Blazor, talking to the browser over SignalR with WebSockets. I'm kind of curious, like what would happen if I use this in a Blazor WebAssembly app? Would it just print out to the browser console terminal, or like how would that work?
I haven't tested it, but we can try. Do you mean like the other template?
Yeah, like what would it do with the Blazor WASM template? We don't have to try it today, but I was just curious if you knew like what would happen if we tried it.
I haven't tried, but yeah.
So that sounds like a good call to action for all of you that are watching. Try it out in the templates and let us know what happens. And let us know if you have any particular feedback or anything you'd like us to do as we look across doing logging in some of these different environments.
And as you mentioned that, it just reminded me to also add on that in our for containers, as you see here when I run it, our default console logger is the simple one, which we're always used to seeing.
Yeah.
That is multi-line, but for containers, we've changed it so that the default will be JSON. And that's because it's always been more interesting for containers to for each log message to be in a one line, and we have a property for our built-in JSON formatter that can be either all in one line in a JSON format or multi-line. So that's just a little detail over there. And now that you see this is the default, I also want to check. I want to show you what I added for a custom formatter here in web app. In the Blazor server. And contrasting it with these logs right above, running again, you'll see that it could be anything. My prefix is now a bunch of tildes or anything. And then I have another one that is maybe a little bit more interesting. The last one.
Is this one going to be in color too?
You got it. Yeah.
Nice.
So here.
I love it.
Then you can, like, I added a prefix, a post, the ending, and then time is colored. And I want to just have a sneak peek at what the code looks like. Actually, there's some other cool thing I didn't mention. This prefix and suffix that we saw over here, I configured it in the JSON app settings JSON file. So I could have actually changed it to be anything else rather than changing it in the CS file. I'm gonna try this out.
Awesome. So then I have the option if I wanted to configure in code, I could do that, or if I wanted to configure it inside of the app settings file. Or
and since it was in config file, it actually reloaded because we use the iOptions monitor. It changes it right away. So now you see that it's different. And as we saw with the color behavior that we could disable, I'm going to go back to the config. Actually, the logger color behavior, it would be something similar here. If I wanted to, I'm not going to do it right now because I don't have it right away prepared, and I don't, for sake of time. It's going to be the same as the console app, that if you wanted to disable it, then you use the logger color behavior to just do that.
Awesome. And kind of like what you said in the beginning, if folks really want to know some more of these details about some of these different options that you and your team has added, they can definitely head back over to docs.microsoft.com, and we'll share that doc link that you had with us. And then we could, they could read about it and figure out all of those different options that you could select. Right?
Yes, that's right.
Awesome. So Mir, thank you so much, man. That's been definitely amazing. I know I'm a big fan of logging, and I think diagnostics in general is really important for me to be able to know what happens inside of my app. So having some of these options to have like JSON and different formats is really helpful.
In fact, I actually forgot to show you the JSON format, but that's fine. It's just going to be if we were to go back to the VS Code, I could just show it real quick. It's going to be as simple as just changing the name of the formatter to be JSON.
Oh, really?
And then running it again.
And that's it. And so now it'll just rebuild, and then now we'll just have JSON.
It should, but the reason is that the way we have it, the code is prioritized over. If I have it ever like added, registered, it will be giving priority to what you put in the config file. And the way I have it set up is when I configure logging, I actually have this on. So I'm just going to comment this out. And
so now with that change, and if you do like a .NET run again, it should build, and then now we should see JSON showing out in the console.
Right here.
Awesome.
And
there we go. Perfect.
Multi-line as well.
Great. Well, again, Maryam, thank you so much, man. This has been really great. I hope all of you that are watching has really enjoyed this episode. And if you do, definitely let us know. Head over to the GitHub repo, check out the docs page, and send us your feedback so we can know just exactly how you feel about it. But with that being said, this has been another episode of the On.NET Show. Thank you so much, and you guys take care.